All right, welcome back, and thank you so much for keeping it NBS television. It is the Morning Breeze topical discussion as we pay attention to the current state of political affairs in the country. Just a few days to the end of the tenure of President Yoweri Museveni, that is Sanja Hakuna Mchezo. It is also just a few more weeks to end the tenure of the 10th Parliament, as the 11th Parliament as well gets to come through. And the Chankwanzi retreat just ended yesterday with lots of resolutions coming through, but also disagreements on some of the issues. That and much more is what we'll be putting into context this morning. And with me is our two distinguished gentlemen, of course, Captain Francis Babu with me on my right. Captain Francis, it's always a pleasure having you right here.
Good morning, our viewers. Good morning, my dear. I hope everybody will have a good show.
I hope so. Good morning to you. And Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi, most likely now thinking about the whole structure of the leader of opposition and the different people who will be heading the different committees, since National Unity Platform will be taking leadership in there. A very good morning to you.
A morning to you and morning to Honorable Francis Babu.
Morning.
And to the viewers.
All right, a very good morning to you. Let's start off with one of the critical areas that I think also is going to be of concern in the next parliament, which you are a part of. That is the aspect of travel. It seemed to be one contentious issue yesterday as the NRM got done or concluded with their 3 weeks retreat. The members of parliament were saying, no, these trips should continue. They should stay. The president thought that they should be cut down. I would like to start off with you. You're going to be in the 11th Parliament, definitely. You've been a part of the 10th Parliament. How significant are these trips?
Well, you can't keep isolated in the dark. I keep saying if all Ugandans could be put on a plane and you take them around the world, by the time they come back here, they will completely be different people. And they will have different aspirations, because they will see what has been done elsewhere. As they say, if you travel, you learn, you come back, you copy and implement, and you can better your lives. It's the frequency that is the threat, maybe. I must acknowledge. They mustn't be that many. And the taxpayer shouldn't be paying over the nose for those benchmarking. Some of the trips justifiably have been uncalled for.
Okay.
But let me go into the politics of it.
And also how you would be able to distinguish between the justified and non-justified trips.
No, Uganda is signatory to many treaties. We work with Pan-African Congress, we work with ICP, we work with the Commonwealth, you work with so many. So you can't completely say you are going to isolate yourself. Two, today, over and above your whole budget, half of it is donor funded. Yes. So most of the money actually for development is negotiated from China, from Arab world, from the World Bank, from IMF. Therefore, you are not completely going to say we will not travel. So complete, I don't think, if you are half of your money is donor funded, you cannot say you will completely not travel. But by and large,
the politics of the travels.
The politics of the travel is that they always want to start parliament off with mud.
Who are they?
The executive, and especially the president. And it's a way of dominating it. It's a way of delegitimizing it. It's a way of saying this body here is as corrupt at the very beginning. and you start yourself in a position of defense for who you are and what your intentions are. And it seems members of parliament also fall prey for that. He uses it as a game, and he has been effective. It will either, the media will either be obsessed with the car, will now be obsessed with the travels abroad. But those are not the big issues. Let me go into the nitty-gritty of the budget. Even with the big travel, the budget of parliament remains 600 billion. Just suppose it against the budget for the president, which is 400 billion, and last year he consumed a supplementary of another 300. So for our presidency, we spent 700 billion shillings. So that's how expensive it is. Actually, some of the trips are not even funded by Parliament. Some of the trips are funded by the office of the president. For example, when members of Parliament are going to UNA, because of the politics of UNA, you'll find that 2/3 of the people who have gone to UNA are not funded by Parliament. They are funded by the office of the president because they are there to make a political statement. So take it as a joke and look for the politics in it.
And you think the politics, one, is mudding up Parliament?
Parliament, at the very beginning, let Parliament start from the position of weakness, a position of defense, and delegitimize it.
All right, I will be coming back to you. Captain Francis Babu, what do you think of these trips? Because it has become a dicey issue. It's not the first time that maybe the president or many other members are speaking about either cutting costs with regard to the travel budget of Parliament.
Oh, thank you very much. I think the problem is not even the president of Parliament. I think the problem is what is the administrative cost of running our government in Uganda. That's where we should start. In fact, your question, I think, is elementary. The question is, what is the administrative cost of running government in this country? When I talk about government with a big G, that is the Parliament, executive, and the judiciary. Whether it is flying the presidential aeroplane, whether it is benchmarking, the point is some time ago, the same government passed a policy that travel should only be for necessary requirements. Essential.
And necessary.
Yeah?
And that's where the problem comes
I'm
in.
coming. So, first and foremost, the question now is, with the kind of COVID we've had, with the kind of shock into our economy, with the kind of the collection of our money, the next question would be, do we have money? My brother has made it very clear. I don't like this pull and push. The whole government needs to go on austerity measures so that we can get money to run the most important things of government. Now, of course, when you have the International Parliamentary Union, you cannot say you will not send people there. When you have something very important which concerns Parliament, you cannot say you will lock people up. I think the honourable member has put it very clear. It has to be a necessary trip. And we must all believe this one is justifiable. Now, from that point on, I want you to know that we have, because of the pandemic and the COVID, the economy is in a bad state. Nobody wants to talk about this, all right? Even the collection of money to government. So the next question would be, I think the way we also present these things to the members of Parliament, the way we present it to the public is wrong. We should really come out very carefully. Listen, we are going to cut our cloth to our size. Baganda have a very nice saying, omumpi wakoma, wakwata. Now, why am I saying this? Let us get to know, do we have this money? Let us stop pushing, supplementary, this. The question is, do we have the money? Because I want to talk where the money is in the pocket. If I want to do something, I must have the money. So we've got to look at the political problems we've got. We've got to look at the economic problems we have and our social problems. Now, you are going into another, let's not kill each other. Let's not spoil each other. And by the way, the majority of members of Parliament are so nice. They have no problem at all. A few probably have got their problems, which are totally different. But members of Parliament should be a society that insists on making sure that the expenditure, because they're oversight.
Yeah.
They're in charge of making sure the expenditure is correct.
And you were talking about the size of government. There will still be a ping pong of the president saying that it's the members of Parliament who pass these new constituencies.
No. It's the whole government. Whenever we talk now, and I want people to change their mindset. Let's not talk about Parliament. Let's talk about the whole government. Of those, the leanest The one which is very lean and they are suffering from Kochako is judiciary. They don't even have enough judges.
Yeah.
All right? They need more judges, they need more equipment, they need more money to run the judiciary well. Then you have Parliament, which has expanded because some people, clever people, think by having a town council turned into a municipality to get us a member of Parliament, increasing districts, doing all sorts of things. There are people who think like that, which I don't. Frankly speaking, and I think I'm going to ask my brother when he goes back, being a senior MP now, to make sure that they think about looking at Uganda and what number we should have in Parliament.
All right, maybe thinking about downsizing, I am wondering whether that would come. But Honorable Chivumbi, as you respond to that, I also want you to speak to the whole idea of discussion of what is essential and necessary and what is not, because any trip could be justified as essential.
Honorable Francis Babu is spot on. I sit on the budget committee, and I have the privilege to know every figure that is being spent all over. Let me give the general public these facts, and they won't hurt because they are facts. You have a 44 trillion budget being proposed for the next financial year, 44.5. I hope by the time we finish the budget next week, there will not be another agenda, because by last week it was 41, government brought a agenda of another 4-something billion, it is now 44. Now, out of this budget of 44, we've gone, Honorable Francis Babu, what they call program-based budgeting. Ideally, it spells out exactly where your money goes. The topmost expenditure of our budget, consumer, is going to be governance and security, 7.7 trillion. And I'll, for the benefit of the viewers, even split that further. Of the 7.7 trillion, 4.4 trillion is for defense. Okay. And 3.2 something trillion is classified. And Honorable Babu knows the implication of classified, that it's beyond the scrutiny of even Parliament.
Yeah.
What it will do, even the Auditor General has issues with it, but that's, so the biggest consumer of our defense budget is classified budget. It's not to improve the welfare of soldiers or to have a better barracks, to be well paid. Now, the next huge expenditure on our budget are going to be interest payments and amortization. Interest payment and amortization is interest on loans, on money borrowed, and the payback of part of the loans we borrowed. Now, I will even split that further and tell you that of the interest payment, amortization is just 1.1 trillion. That means 5.5 trillion is interest payment, interest as interest. Of the 5.5, fair like 4.5 trillion is for money borrowed domestically. That's for money borrowed from Honorable Babu and everywhere, and all over the country. Now, of our money borrowed, which is 14 trillion, 15 trillion now borrowed, the one that will mature this year will be 8 trillion. Government does not have it. It will do what they call debt refinancing. Debt refinancing is like, I need to pay Honorable Babu, I come to you and pay Babu, and that's why the costs of interest are increasing. Now, that is 15 trillion, which is a direct knockoff from our revenue, which revenue is going to project to be 22 trillion. So out of 22 trillion, two sectors will take 15. Interest payment and amortization, governance and security. Now, if you are to pay wages, statutory wages for workers of government, you are going to pay fair about 5-something trillion. So you literally, all your money you've collected by URA, the one you pay for in the market, is going to go to wages, security and governance, and interest payment.
And Honorable Chivumbi, someone out there is thinking, as you speak about all those figures, they're thinking you have the power to say yes and no to particular figures that have been presented.
Well, that's the politics of it. That this institution that has the powers to curtail into that, start it on a bad note. Put it in the defense. Put it in the dark corner. Well, inherently, we also box ourselves there, somehow by our behavior and tendencies. Now, that's why I'm saying, now, of the total budget, 28% will be for recurrent expenditure. That means money for development is going to be 6 trillion out of, and all that is borrowed money. Now, if you have a government, that's why, and we're on the brink now. Each one of you, me and your child and everyone, every Ugandan, now has a per capita debt of 1.5. It will take us 93 years, as per the last report of Parliament, Committee of the Economy, to pay back.
And we are still borrowing.
And we are without borrowing any further. Now, on our debt to GDP ratio, we are 49.9% as per the present, as per the nominal value. They try to count it as for present value, nominal value. Our space to borrow now has reduced to 0.003%. That means Uganda may not be eligible under IMF and World Bank guidelines for any further credible. Actually, we are bad data. That's why projects like the standard gauge railways can't get funding, because you no longer have, you don't have a fiscal space to borrow. I will doubt even our oil project may suffer, because we may not be credible to borrow. Now, going forward, if we talk about cutting, but who increases the size of government? You've created cities. Are they 9? You have
and
no
they're
money.
passed by you.
By us, you have no money to fund. The City Council of Kampala is going to have 500 councillors. You have no money to pay them. When councillors of KCCA and the divisions are 490 something, just councillors of KCCA, you are creating municipalities and town councils for which you cannot fund.
Honorable, before we take a break, is there an opening for reducing this? Like
therefore,
Captain
when you go for a small issue of travel of Parliament abroad, and you don't discuss the broader issues of governance, who creates these constituencies? Parliament is going to be 500. All these, under the law they made, it was supposed to be the Electoral Commission with the primary duty to demarcate constituencies. These constituencies that are created out of districts and new counties, they were supposed to be for affirmative action. For regions that are so sparse, so big, you cannot represent them according to demography.
Okay.
Now, government closed the road for the Electoral Commission after the population to create new constituencies, and it has been creating new counties. New counties are no longer service delivery center. The only thing you get in a county is an MP.
And you're still passing this in Parliament as well.
And
do we say there is also politics behind having
the politics behind it is that your absolute numbers will never be tampered with.
Okay.
So government always remain, even when the opposition in nominally raises like to 100, okay, government will still protect out of 500. Okay. That's the whole politics.
I agree.
And the question is, why do you need absolute numbers in governance? Is to manipulate the law as and when it is called for.
Thank you, Honorable Chivumbi. I'll be getting back to you. Captain Francis, shortly before we do take a break, I agree the cost of public administration is high, but where is the break-even point? At what point in time will we have to go back? Can we say we're going to amalgamate some of these constituencies, like the discussion has been for some authorities that were created?
We have to change our mindset. The mindset in the government, the mindset of our people, and then we need to give explanations. Even those who are resisting because they think they have now got a job. My friend was talking about councillors. Some people are using this to create jobs for people. In my sincere opinion, that is not the problem. Is the leadership, the political class, regardless of the party, have to have in mind that there are certain points we can't go beyond. For example, a very good point, that we've now reached a point when we can't borrow money anymore.
True.
Now, that shows you that that is indiscipline to begin with. That is financial indiscipline. Secondly, we have ongoing projects. You know, you are talking about, he's talking about projects that are going to come. We have ongoing projects right now where we have already committed ourselves, including roads. And we have already borrowed, for example, we've got Ginger, we've got Mpigi, which is going to be done. Now, all these, we've borrowed money to do them. So this thing that we are going to get a president very soon who will be swearing in, the good thing is the same president who is going to continue with those projects. My sincere opinion is that there's total financial indiscipline in this government.
And how does it get sorted?
We've got to change our mindset, and the president, and we should tell the president if he's looking at us, he has to have a mind change. He's got to have a team that can have a damage control. Because right now, we are having problem. No matter what you say, the administrative cost of this government is high.
Huge. Yeah.
Whether you like it, and I'm happy that the honorable member was kind enough to break it down for us so that we can see it. You don't need to even break it down. We know that the money which is being collected, you cannot borrow for salaries. You cannot borrow for intelligence. So this money has to come from the money that we collect. Now, if the money we collect all goes into just paying the requirements, we've got to think twice.
I agree with you.
And let me put it this way. Frankly speaking, the whole constitution should be reviewed now.
Well,
and I think the first job of this parliament,
should be a constitutional review.
They should completely come to the constitution. And in my sincere opinion, if honorable members of parliament are really sincere, like when I was in the NRC, we were told not to debate the constitution. We voted and we got something called the Constituent Assembly, and that Constituent Assembly came out with this constitution. This constitution now requires a body that can review it without any interest and come up with sincerity and bring a government that we can manage.
All right. In just a few weeks, we will be having the new parliament, the 11th parliament coming through. One of the discussions, of course, is going to be the leadership in this parliament, including the leader of opposition and the opposition side, but together as well with the discussion on the leadership, the speaker and deputy speaker. That and much more we will delve into when we do return from the break.